Today on the Income Flip podcast, I've got my friend Grant Weiss with us. Grant, dude, first, tons of gratitude for you, right? We've known each other for about a decade now, which is kind of crazy. Maybe longer than a decade. And you were the first person to really open up my eyes about the power of online marketing and social media and took me out of the just grinding the phone all the time, right? And I've seen you evolve as an entrepreneur and as a business person. And I thought I would bring you here on the Income Flip podcast, right? Many of our listeners are on this journey of the creating cash flow, creating like income from their sales job, and then we're teaching them how to convert it to more of a highly leveraged income, or aka passive income. But you and I both know that's really hard to do. It takes a long time, and no such thing as passive. It's just highly leveraged income. And I've seen you grow as a business person. You've got scars, you've got successes, and what I love to do is always kind of share the journey of the entrepreneur first, so that people get context of the game that they're actually playing. Because a lot of times people think they go into this game and it's going to be easy, and it's not. But it is fulfilling and rewarding. You got to stick with it. Yep. So let's take you back to the beginning, right?
Okay.
When did you decide that you were going to bet on yourself and be an entrepreneur?
When I was a child.
Okay.
I really genuinely did. I became an entrepreneur because my dad worked 6.5 days a week at a car lot, and pretty much never saw him. Like, we didn't get to spend a lot of time with him. And that for me, like as a child, I was like, I couldn't possibly imagine not being able to go to your child's baseball game because you got to work. Now, I was a child, but then you grow up a little bit and you're like, okay, yeah, people have to work. Everybody's got jobs and obligations and all that. And I think the world's kind of eased up on some of that. But for me, when I was a really young kid, I was like, I just can't imagine having a job. And then I got one for about a month. And I went, clocked in, did my thing, clocked out. After like, I can't remember what the paycheck was, but I was like, this doesn't even cover my gas to get to the job. Like, this is crazy. This doesn't make any sense to me. And so I was still in high school when I got a job, and I only lasted 4 weeks. And then I went to college to play baseball. And I knew, because after baseball, I had three major surgeries in 1 year, 2 elbow surgeries and 1 facial reconstruction. It was back in 2008. Ooh. And I was like, okay, I think I'm done with baseball. And went back home, and everybody's like, well, you're not going to become anything if you don't go to college. And I was like, I don't think that's true, but okay. Like, and I failed history in 2 consecutive semesters. So like my first semester playing baseball, failed it. And that was right after my, arm got blown up. And then second semester at a community college, failed it again. I was like, guys, I don't think this is working out. I don't think this is my path. And but I knew I didn't want to work for anybody else. That idea, the whole concept, it just didn't make any sense to me. Why would you go trade your time for money and trade away all of your freedom? Because I couldn't have imagined, growing up with kids and then not being able to see them because somebody told me I couldn't. And entrepreneurship is a funny little thing, right? It'll lure you in. What is that thing people say? It's like entrepreneurs are the only people that are willing to give up working 40 hours a week so they can work 80 hours a week.
Yeah,
it's like,
it's true.
So that's true. That's very
that's true.
But I guess it's like I have the freedom to work.
But
the way that I want to work.
It's the 80 hours on your time. It's the 80 hours of the work that.
Yes, I have the freedom to work 80 hours a week, 100%.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I also, I don't miss my kids' functions. I don't miss the things that were the most important to me when I was a kid that unfortunately, my parents didn't get to be out all the time. And that's when I decided to become an entrepreneur. And that's how I started pursuing it.
Can I double click on that real fast for anybody listening as well? But by the way, Grant, how old are your kids?
My daughter is 13 and my son is 9.
Okay, cool. My baby girl's 23 now, right? So she's not, she's not a baby anymore, but she'll always be my baby. And I never missed anything.
Yeah.
I never missed anything. But here's where I did go wrong. And so I want somebody to hear this. There's a difference between being there and being fully present, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was there. I was there. All like everything. I was there. But I was also there. Like, hey,
Yep.
I'm on this call, right?
Yeah.
I've got my laptop. And she remembers that, right?
Mm-hmm.
She remembers that. And I'm like, oh, like stab in the heart, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yet, she also realizes the reality of what time it was. It was 2008, 2009, right? The market was crazy. And so for entrepreneurs that are listening right now, be there and be present, I think is probably the most important piece.
I just tell everybody to invest in the moment you're actually in.
Oh yeah, that's great.
Invest in the moment you're actually in. And I think it's a great philosophy. I make this particular mistake probably more than anybody I'm around. And so I'm not sitting here saying I'm perfect. I felt this call to start a life group recently to help entrepreneurial couples work through, devotionals and stuff like that. And after one, this topic came up, and it was, do your kids know that you mean more to them than your business does? Mm-hmm. And I got a wild hair, and I decided to ask my son. And I was so grateful for his answer, because he was like, of course I know that. And I was like, thank the Lord. Okay, good. We're doing
something right. We're doing something right.
Yes.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. That's cool, man. Well, you started that first business. What was it? Just out of curiosity.
It was a gutter installation company. It was my dad's business. So after I stopped playing baseball, got to work. And so working in the gutter company with my dad, he and I didn't, we've always just had kind of like a friction-based relationship. We've always kind of argued at each other. I'm sure I'm subconsciously mad at him for a bunch of stuff, but we were working in the gutter business, and he fell off of a ladder and he hurt his back really bad. And I was like, hey, don't worry, I'll take over and I'll start running everything. And I'll pay you 50% of all the work, all the revenues. And he was like, okay, cool. I think I did 2 jobs. And I was like, well, this is stupid. I don't want to give you half the money. How about I just buy this thing from you, so then you don't have to worry about it at all? He was pretty done with it too. Mm-hmm. And so we negotiated a deal, and I took it over. And honestly, Rob, I played golf 5 days a week, and I would do a gutter project on the weekends to pay my bills. Pretty cushy for like a little, a 20-year-old. I was doing okay, 19, 20-year-old kid. But then I started, I think it was after golf season was over that year, I was like, I could do more. Like I've got a taste. So I started a roofing business. And 2 months later, we got a hailstorm. Praise the Lord. Like did 111 roofs that first year. And unfortunately, I'm not a guy that grew up with a lot of financial training, financial sense. Mm-hmm. My mom, stepfather, they struggled with money my whole childhood, and they're who I lived with. And I really only ever saw my dad just buy toys. I didn't ever see him. Nobody ever really taught me about money. And so started making a lot. As a 21-year-old kid, I started spending a lot and just get myself in a whirlwind of trouble. And I started trying to start more companies and do this and do that and do this and do that. And I got in legal trouble. I got in money trouble. I got in all kinds of trouble.
Tax trouble, I'm sure.
Making crazy kinds of dumb decisions. I got heavily into drinking and stuff like that. And ended up at the ripe old age of 23 filing bankruptcy. Legal bankruptcy, Chapter 11, or whatever the numbers are. And ended up bankrupt, lost everything. And it was kind of in that time is when I got into real estate, because I was starting a bunch of companies. The companies would have early success, and then I couldn't sustain it, so I'd start another business. Mm. And somebody came to me and they're like, we're going to start a real estate company, and we're going to pay our agents 100% commission, which is a new concept where I live. I'm just like, that's brilliant. Everybody would want that. Who doesn't want to make more money? And my job in the real estate company was to travel around the country and recruit. So we wanted to be in 500 markets in 5 years. We started here where I live, got everybody going. Then I went to Missouri, and then I went to Colorado, and then I went to here and there. And after 2 years of doing that, then we get to the point where I'm about to file bankruptcy. I've got a few home services businesses that don't make it. I've got the real estate thing that's going to go under. Everybody that came into the company to help fund it It's like, Grant, we think you're the reason this company's not growing and we want you to leave. I'm like, it's my company. Like, I own it. What do you mean? What do you want me to leave? I own like the majority of this business. And they were like, we just think that you should consider walking away and letting us try to fix all of this. And man, I didn't know what I was going to do.
How old? You were 25?
I was 23 at the time. 23.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. And I was like, I have no idea what I'm going to do. And my now wife and I were together. She's like, I have no idea either, but I trust you're going to figure it out. And about a week goes by, and I was like, you know what? I've been trying to teach all of these people how to do social media and advertise and do all this stuff. What if I just start teaching agents how to grow their business? So I have no money, legally bankrupt. My wife gives me $20 so that I can run some Facebook ads. Now wife, girlfriend at the time, gives me $20. And so I put out a Facebook ad for my little social media boot camp program that I had not finished. So I had week 1 done if I sold anything, and then I was ready to go for the rest of it. And this woman named Tanya Thompson books a call with me off of a Facebook ad, buys a $1,000 course. And I learn a whole lot of lessons in less than an hour. First of which was like, holy crap, I just made 24x off of some Facebook media buys. Like, what? And then I was like, oh crap, I've got to finish this course. And so finished the course, she goes through it, and she goes on to sell 48 houses in less than 12 months from everything that I taught her.
Wow.
And I just did that again, and I did it again. I started making a little money. A year after bankruptcy, I got to a place where I was making about $100,000 through courses and consulting and stuff like that. And I get into this mastermind because I need to invest in myself. I was buying training through Grant Cardone sales training, went through this training, got into this mastermind with a guy that calls himself the Australian sales warlord. He would knight people with a sword at his sales training, so it was a pretty funny experience. But I met a couple of guys in that, and they said, hey, why don't you just let us handle the sales? You've got the course stuff, and you know the marketing. And we formed a little bit of a partnership there, and we went from literally 100K to 1.8 million in cash collected the next year, 3.6 million in cash collected the year following that. And it was through all of this, I started recognizing some challenges. It was like, not everybody that buys a course implements what you teach. I'm sure you know a lot about what I'm talking about there. And so I was like, what if we could just build something that could do this for people? Like, that would be cool. I didn't want to start a marketing agency because I was like, I don't want a ton of staff and all that stuff. So somebody introduced me to this concept of building a SaaS company, a software as a service business. I was like, that's very interesting. The software can just do the work. And they were like, yeah. I was like, realtors will love that. And put a little launch plan together. And the guy that I had partnered with, he's like, this all sounds amazing. He's like, but I have to finish battling cancer first. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, I have cancer. And I was like, how much time do you need? I was like, and he was like, yeah, just give me like 2 to 3 months. Let me get through the rest of my treatments. And he beat cancer. He started working on the project, and we set a launch date. And with nothing more than a workable demo of how the product works, I got 368 people to register for a training. They were all students. And we sold 333 software subscriptions in 24 hours. And the product didn't even exist. We made $100,000 in a day. It was one of the cooler experiences of my life. But then after you finish celebrating, you're like, you have to finish the software. It's like, okay, so that was just like a 3-month aggressive push, and built this software company and started really growing it and growing it and growing it. And, you deal with all of the trends. You learn a lot. I certainly did. So that was 2017. It was March 31st, 2017 is when we launched the software company, which is what you know as Whitley. Mm-hmm. And get to where we are now. A few years ago, I had to make some tough decisions. I don't know how much more you want me to go into, but launched the software company, grew it to, I think, $170,000 in monthly recurring revenue, and started to try to bring people in, and things started to just fall apart. There's a lot of stuff that I didn't really truly grasp about leadership, both myself and then bringing people into organizations to help grow it. And some mistakes were made, and I started looking for other ways to generate revenue, started doing a lot of consulting, which was very successful. I started working with a lot of the top 1% real estate teams in the US and Canada. They were the top 1% in their state, their companies, some of them, their countries. I still have some of those clients who are number 1 in the world. And I just kind of kept noticing a trend.
Mm-hmm.
And that trend
Mm-hmm.
was, man, there's a lot of people that refer home service providers, real estate agents that refer people to home service providers, and you guys don't get anything in return for this. And I noticed this for a while, and we're kind of trying to, figure out some stuff with Whitley. And I was like, could I just step in and do something? Because everybody said the same thing. Like, yes, we could probably make a lot of money. We don't know what to do. We don't know what to say. Don't know how to price it. Don't know how to put the agreements together. Don't want to track it. And I finally was like, can I do it? Because this is really interesting. My whole life is like putting offers together and marketing and sales and doing all this stuff. And so it's strategizing and finding opportunities to make money. That's what businesses are. Like it's monetizing every way that you possibly can. And somebody was like, yeah, go ahead. Made him $7,000 in monthly recurring revenue in 7 days.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
And then we went on to do $14,000 in monthly recurring in less than 30 days. This is just a real estate team adding a new revenue stream to the business.
Yeah.
And I
helping cover cost, helping all of it. Yeah.
Take that money, put it right in to pay for leads, technology, team, whatever. Free cash flow that you can do whatever you want in the business. And I was doing that, and I was kind of at a crossroads. And I went to a business mastermind with Dean Graziosi. I got 2 minutes with Dean. Hey, man, this is what I got going on. And I was talking like a mile a minute. He kind of took a step back. He's like, I can tell you have a lot going on, and it's kind of overwhelming me. He's like, go back to your hotel room, write a list of everything that you could do, and circle the one thing that you're going to focus on for the next 60 to 90 days. And I went back into my hotel room. It was in California, and sitting there, made a gigantic list, and I circled comarketing.com. I said, this is it. This is the thing. This is what I got to put all my time and attention to. And I had made the incredibly difficult decision to start closing my company, Whitley, that I had invested $6 million in, and starting winding down consulting. I stopped creating content. I literally just went off the grid for a couple of years and worked on this company. And a few months ago, started getting back out there saying, okay, it's time to grow what we've built. But now all we do, now I get to do every day is just put partnerships together. It's really fun. I get to add new revenue streams to people that are in real estate. I get to help people in home services get profitable and predictable lead sources they can use to grow their businesses. And I'm having an enormous amount of fun. It's not something that's come without a lot of pain and a lot of lessons and a lot of mistakes. But
well, I got a ton of questions to ask you right off of this. So years ago, I started building this framework of thinking about the journey for the entrepreneur. Level 1 is all around thinking and energy. You need to have the right energy, the right thinking. Level 2 is around creating predictable income. Like, how do you actually predictable income from a KPI standpoint? Level 3 is about actual real business ownership. You said something early, you were young, you never saw like a pattern in your family life where mom and dad were teaching you about money. But that is probably the majority of everybody, right? Like, let's be real. Most people don't get that pattern, and it's not taught in school. And so I'm pretty certain when I say this, the majority of business owners and entrepreneurs who start actually really creating predictable income, they naturally hit the next wall, which is real business ownership.
Yeah.
Closing your P&Ls, financials, cash flow statements, balance sheet, all that stuff. Which, by the way, if you're a marketer or you're a salesperson, it's not your natural DNA, right? Like, it's not your natural DNA. It wasn't mine either, right? Yeah. I had to have a little bit of a holy shit moment that I was like, ooh, I don't know what's going on, and this business has now outgrown me a little bit, and I gotta level up my financial knowledge. And it sounds like that occurred, right? Like that first time, and then potentially even like the second time. Like you start but let's say level 4 is investments. Level 5 is leadership on purpose, right? Like nobody talks about leadership on purpose. Like you can put a company together, you can inspire people, you can create vision, but now leadership on purpose, it's a whole different game, right? That's how you start building your executive staff. That's how you have people with you for a long time. And so 6 is scale, because once you got that down, you could actually scale. And then 7 is impact. And so there's this framework that I've used to be able to kind of describe the journey, and because I had to describe my world and be like, okay, what happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how do I fix this moving forward? And by the way, I have lots of ladies in the red dress always pull my attention, right? Alex Ramosi reference there from The Matrix, where the pattern of I know how to create a $3 million business, so I'm just going to go do it another one, and then
Yeah.
I'm going to do another one,
Yep.
and then it starts pulling from your time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it spreads you thin. And so what I heard you say was you took all those lessons and you said I'm going to go all in on this one thing because for whatever the way the business is designed, you can see it clearly. I would
Yeah.
imagine with tech, you didn't have a tech background, so there might have been some fog
Oh
about,
my gosh.
right? Yes.
That was one of the most painful things to learn over the last several years, without question.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, I was having a discussion with our mutual friend Leo Perea about
Yeah.
that. He said, "Man, it was the hardest thing for me to build a tech company because it's like I wasn't a tech guy, right?" And he's like, "I'm now in my element. I know, like nobody could pull any wool over my eyes because I know
Right.
exactly what's happening in this game, right?" Which that's the sense I'm getting from you with co-marketing. You've been creating partnerships for a long time. You get that game, and now you know how to monetize that game
Yeah.
in a way that really adds a lot of value to somebody like me or somebody else. You can directly see 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 7,000 a month, which is like significant for a team, right?
Yeah.
Significant
Absolutely.
for a team. Significant. If you were to diagnose your journey of the I always ask this of the entrepreneur of the pattern you seem to repeat because we all do, that seems to be like, dude, I'm here again, like what, like
Yeah.
what, I've got to kill that at some point, like
Yeah.
what is that pattern for you?
There's probably a couple, but I think one that is for me is it's when things get really hard. When you grow up the way that I did, and everybody's got a story, so I'm not sitting here saying, oh, woe, it's me. But you kind of learn how to survive. And so for me, learning how to survive meant stepping away from really hard things to try to protect myself. So I got really good at doing that, really good at loving people from a distance, really good at doing this, really good at pushing things away to protect myself. And it's a trend that I've had to sit through and really analyze. But if I go back to my very first companies, when I got hard, I just started a new business. When I got hard, I would just start a new business. When I got hard, I would just start a new business. And you then go in and you try to build a company and you start bringing people in and it gets hard. And my subconscious natural instinct was to go, oh, this is really hard. I need to kind of walk away. And I think that what you kind of realize as an entrepreneur, I think I said this when we were talking a couple months back when I interviewed you. The truest quote that I've ever heard about entrepreneurship that I've never wanted to be true was first you build yourself and then you build a business. Business will teach you a lot about who you are as a person. And I've learned a lot about who I am as a person. And that's the thing for me I have to go to war with every day. I've got to beat Grant at this level, and then I've got to go to Grant at the next level, and I've got to beat him too. And then, oh, by the way, when I win at this level, I'm going to go face Grant at 100 million a year, and then I'm going to have to face Grant. You see what I'm saying? Like I'm going to have to go keep beating this guy. But it's just like to what you're saying. It's like, what was the thing? So for me, it was when things got really hard. My survival mechanism was, I got to push this away. I got to get away from this to protect myself. And, unfortunately end up hurting myself in the process. And so you got to go get coaches and mentors and therapists to say like, what the hell am I doing? What's going on? And it's like, hey man, it's right here in front of you. Look, things get hard. You're bailing instead of just digging in. And I've had many of those moments within comarketing.com, but I think for me, I've never seen a more compelling future for myself and the people that I get to serve, because I can walk into a business now and say, I know how to add $12,822 to your bottom line in the next 3 months. Let's go. In monthly recurring revenue. And that to me is just, it's so fun. It's so fascinating. So even though it's hard, now I feel pulled into this thing instead of like I've got to push to go work. And there's a big difference, but
Yeah,
that would be the pattern.
I'm gonna put words in your mouth a little bit. You're not saying this, but I feel it. You know how hard it is for that other entrepreneur on the other side of you to be building what they're building.
Yeah.
And so there's a certain level of impact, reward, juice, whatever you want to call it, that you get by helping somebody add 4,000 a month, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 in reoccurring revenue to their business, because you know that is oxygen for that business. It's literally like you might be giving somebody like the oxygen they need to stay alive in their business. And there's something fulfilling about that. And because at some point you wanted that oxygen for yourself. You wanted Grant to come in and be like, dude, let me just add,
Yeah.
4,000, 5,000, 10,000 recurring revenue to your business.
Yeah.
And like, sign me up, right?
Yeah.
Show me the ways, show me the way, right? I believe that many times when we build things that actually mean something and like, where you're like, oh, I get it. It's because you're helping your former self kind of move up the mountain, right?
Yeah.
And every level, I always say, every time you go up a level, you have to slay a dragon. There's a dragon that's there, right?
Yeah.
And I've given all the dragons their own freaking names because I'm like, you got to kill the dragon of doubt or the dragon of ego, or right, or hollow, right, is another one. Like I've given them names because it's very real. And when you can give the entrepreneur language, because a lot of times like nobody's giving you context of what you're actually going through, so you feel like you're in the desert
Without question.
without like alone, and there is no map, right? And if somebody could give you context of what you're going through and say, listen, it's okay, like everybody goes through this, and what you got to do is you got to do these two things to get to the out of this level, right? Kill this dragon, go to the next one. Which is why I'm passionate about creating this podcast, the Income Flip, all of our training, right? And I wanted you on here so people could hear it, because there's two things I want out of this conversation. One, if you're building something and it feels hard, you're not alone, right? And that you need to surround yourself with people that have been on this path before. And then two, there are other ways that you can monetize your business that you haven't even thought about, right? So let's delve a little bit more into like how co-marketing works, right? There's probably sales team leaders on here listening, even acquisition team leaders on here, right? So how does it work?
We go back to like the trend that I noticed. Everybody that is in real estate has a list of home service providers, vendors that you call them, that you refer to. A mover, a roofer, a painter, an electrician, handyman, cleaning company, plumber, HVAC, whatever. And real estate agents are constantly, it's not just agents, team leaders, broker owners, investors, property managers, anybody in real estate, they're sending this volume of business to these people. And most of the time, there's not much reciprocation. You're not getting anything in return for it. You are providing a great service to your clients, as you should. It's helping them. I just, especially if you go look back 3 years ago, kind of going into a weird place in real estate. Things were hard. Everybody was like, how do we make this work? And so it's like, man, surely there's another way to monetize. And when we first started doing it, I was like, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to create what we call preferred partner or preferred vendor program. And we're going to give them benefit number 1 and benefit number 2 and benefit number 3 and benefit number 4. And okay, now I have an offer. I'm going to go out and sell this to the list of home service providers that you've been referring business to for years. Pick up the mover. Hey, Mr. Mover, Grant Wise with X team. We're rolling out a new preferred partner program. We've been sending you business for years. We wanted to call you first to see if you'd have any interest in partnering with us in a more formal way. I probably should have been paying a long time ago. Yes. What do you need me to do? It was like, okay, there's $3,000 a month. Boom. I'm going to go to the painter. Hey, this is how it works. This is what you got to do. I'm all in. I want to be partnered with that person. Boom. And it just kept doing. Now we started doing that with what I call subscription-based pricing, where they would just pay a lump sum every month. And then what I learned is that created a lot of instant pressure in the relationship. You need to start sending me business. I need to start getting something from this. Mm-hmm. And so somewhere in there, we switched to performance-based pricing, where it's just like, here's how much a lead is worth based on all these numbers that we've got. So every time we send you a lead, we're going to charge your card and you're going to give us X number of dollars. That fixed everything. I always knock on wood when I say this. We've not had a single vendor cancel their partnership with an agent, investor, property manager, broker owner, team leader since we went to that pricing model, because they only pay when they actually get a lead, and the numbers are really good. So it's very profitable for them. I've got case study after case study after case study now, as you can imagine, of people that are getting 10x returns and 15x returns. And we got some that are getting 30x returns. And really all we're doing is taking something that you are already doing in your business and creating formal partnerships with people that want to pay you instead of just giving that out for free.
Yeah, can I tell you why it, like, as I just think about it, and you know this, but just for somebody listening, like why it works so well is when I think about it, that partner's fronting all the risk, right? And so that upfront pressure happens. It's like, dude, I need a return on this money. And we all know that it takes time sometimes to get, especially if you've got to cross a $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 hurdle. If you could keep everybody equal, right? Like feeling equal, like, oh, you get a lead, there's a payment happen. You get a lead, there's payment happen. Then it never feels out of balance at that point. It just feels like you guys are co-marketing, right? You're partners.
Yeah, absolutely. You're partners. That's what I was telling you, is like, you don't need more leads, you need more partners. I don't know if you know John Cheplack. I coached with him for a few years, and he always said this. He's like, real estate people will roll out the red carpet to close a lead. You'll do everything you can to make $5,000. He's like, but what if you took all of that same time, attention, energy, and you put it into recruiting one agent that was going to make you $50,000 in a year, and do that every year as long as they stayed? And I kind of view this the same way, as like, you know, everybody's does so much work to get a lead. It's like, what if you could just get one partnership that brought you a ton of leads every single month? And the home service providers love it. And obviously the people in real estate are loving it, because when you get into thinking through this, it's like, we've done a lot of studies on the average value of a lead across 30 different industries. It's about $136. And when you then compare that with the transaction count, it's like, okay, well, if you sell 10 houses a month, that's $1,360 a month in extra revenue that's coming into the business. That's just what you're doing passively. When you really start focusing on this, and we've got some data, like some of these teams are selling a lead 1.57 times, meaning they're selling one lead to multiple vendors and monetizing. And it's like, okay, now we're going to do this to get up to 2x, and then we're going to do this to get up to 3x. So one transaction, we monetize that contact 3 different times at an estimated value of $222 per transaction. You start doing some of these little incremental things that we're obsessing over right now, and you start adding real money to a business. So you get into other industries like property managers that are doing high volumes of business. It's unbelievably profitable. And you get into some of these other forms of real estate. But this is what you're supposed to do in business. I got to sit down with the CEO of Remax recently at dinner. And I was like, he was formerly the CEO of Dish Cable. And I was like, what was your favorite light bulb moment at Dish Cable? What was the moment where you were like, ah? He's like, honestly, I was sitting in the shower and I was just thinking about business. And I had previously asked somebody on the team, and they told me, we touch 60,000 TVs a day. And we don't clean them. And we don't do this, and we don't do that. He's like, so then I started adding some of these services. Well, 60 times 10, that's $600,000 we add to the business in a day by saying, hey, can we clean this for you? Or, hey, can we do this for you? Or, hey, can we do that for you? And it was just a fascinating conversation, because we got to talk a little about, the parallels that he saw at Remax. But this is what businesses do. Like, this is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to look at all of the ways that you can monetize your business. And I think people in real estate get so caught up with, I just got to sell more houses. It's like, you might need to, but you might also just add mortgage, and then title, and then homeowners insurance, and then home warranty, and then ancillaries, and then co-marketing. Like, what if you could make 7 forms of revenue on one transaction? How would that change your life? Because you can dramatically increase your revenue, gross profit, bottom line, by not selling more houses, but making more revenue on every deal that you do. And I think that's, if we could just think more like business people in real estate, I think that it would be amazing what would happen in this industry.
Yeah, it overall reduces your cost to acquire a client if you do control multiple
And it
channels.
compounds your LTV too, where you take
Yep.
somebody that was worth $5,000 to you, now they're worth 50. Like that's a different conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Let's jump on that real fast. One of the epiphanies I had was, and it took me a long time to figure this out. I don't know why, but it just did. And once I understood, I'm like, come on, dummy. This is so obvious. But it was when you look at the average, person that owns a home is going to live in that home for now like 10 years, like every 10 years. And if you're lucky, right? So let's just use simple math, right? Let's just say you made $10,000 on that one deal, right? And if you're lucky, maybe they refer you 2 or 3 people over the course of 10 years. Okay, let's be generous. Let's just say it's 4, right? That'd be a lot, right? 4. And so the long-term gross value of that client, let's just say it's 50,000. Let's be generous. Let's say it's 70,000, right? Hell, let's say it's $80,000, right, on that one client. But that was 80,000 over the course of a decade. Okay.
Yeah.
Or I could work with an investor client of mine, and instead of selling a person a house every 10 years and maybe get like 6 or 7 referrals, I can get 10 deals done with that one investor in 1 year. So like the long-term gross value of that one investor client compounds. Then I took it a step further and said, okay, well, what if I hired an agent? And I started doing the math, and I started breaking down the math of what my long-term gross value was of an agent on my team who I loved and kept and nurtured, and I was like, well, who really is my client? Like at that point, because it's drastically different. It's like $400,000, right?
Yep.
It's drastically different. So my brain started changing more to KFR, right? Which John Chaplak talks about, right?
Yep.
And keep friggin' recruiting for those. And recruiting and developing, I think of us as like a leadership development incubator. Like I'm developing future leaders and business partners, right? And so it took me a while to figure that out, but then we started also adding vertically integrated businesses. We first started with kind of like the idea of referrals, like co-marketing, but then it was like, oh, could we add businesses that add an additional $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month, which is what we did. But you do have to warning, you will get distracted if you're not careful. You cannot do that too early, right?
Yes, that's a fact.
Yeah, there's the right time to do it. In fact, I think you and I talked about this. I went to Alex Hormozi's office last year and went through his kind of like L1 launch, and pretty much was like, oh yeah, dude, like you just need that. Instead of like opening up more offices in other markets, you need to do 1,000 units in your one office first, right? And then go back, right? And start opening up some of these other offices. And I was like, okay, well, we're going to service the offices we have and help them grow. We're not going to open up really more offices, and we're just going to get 1,000 units out of our core main office, right? So then in order to do that, we need to hire and develop more people here in our backyard, which, by the way, I know that's going to increase profitability. Makes everything better at that point, right? So if a team like mine wanted to find out more about co-marketing, right, or an investment company like wanted to find out more about co-marketing, property management, right, comarketing.com, you have that URL? Is that where they go?
Yeah, I got very lucky and acquired that domain name. Yeah,
Dude.
comarketing.com. Actually, they would go to comarketing.com/earn, but I'll send over a link to you. That way you can drop it in the show notes so people can click on it and go check it out if they want to.
That'd be great. You know what it reminds me of? It's like consulting.com.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, dude, how did he get that URL?
This gentleman from Hong Kong owned the domain name when I went to look at it, and I was like, all right, he's going to want a pile of money for this thing because it was valued at like 30 to 50 grand, 30 to $45,000 or something like that on different domain valuation tools. And so I reached out to him, and he was like, this is the price. It was like 10% of what I thought. He's like, no negotiating. And I was like, drive a hard bargain, man, but did not wire you the money fast enough. Like, let's get this thing into escrow.com, which is another, service. I was like, let's do it. Like, I'll go right now. Like, here's a link. Let's start the process. But no, all of this stuff is, I would describe it as grace. It's just seeing moments and opportunities and deciding to take them. I feel lucky. I really do. I feel like I just got an enormous amount of grace that comes my way, because in entrepreneurship, you just make so many mistakes, and it happens on a daily basis. You are failing 97% of the time, but you get those 1 to 2 to 3% glimpses at, the good life, and it's enough. It's just.
Dude,
I
did a little happy dance earlier, right before I jumped on with you, because I got some, you normally expect like bad news, right? It's just like, okay, I was like, okay, you expect bad news. But I had an inspection on a beam today on a property that's been a problem for a while. And it was luck, grace, everything, right? Like, it just so happened, everything worked out, it passed.
Awesome.
And literally I was like, yes! Because like that beam is tying up like hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? That I need back in the kitty. I need back in the kitty. So literally, I was like high-fiving everybody in the office, like the best feeling in the world.
You have to celebrate those moments. I was in therapy once, and she says, "How do you celebrate your wins?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" She was like, "Do you ever win?" I was like, "Yeah, I win all the time." And she's like, "How do you celebrate that?" I was like, looked at my wife. I was like, "Are you supposed to celebrate it?" And she was like, "Yes." And so literally in therapy, she's like, "I want you to find something at the end of the week that you're going to do to go celebrate yourself." And I was like, "For what?" And she was like, "Just because, man." She's like, "You have got to like start." And this is, I think all entrepreneurs are like this. It seems like, especially the high performers, it's never enough. It's always like,
it could be better. It could be better.
It says it's blissful dissatisfaction. Like, yes, I'm happy, but I want more. Yes, I'm happy, but I want more. And so I'm pumped you're winning. I'm learning how to celebrate wins. So I'll certainly do a little dance when we get off here.
Oh yeah, I'm not. I'm not going to say that is my. That one's just been carrying. I've been sweating that one for a while, and so I got it. I knew the inspection was like. Oh,
I can only imagine.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. It was a great feeling. Well, Grant, man, as always, whenever I jump on with you, I feel like I've left the conversation a little wiser. No pun intended, right? I feel like I've left the conversation a little wiser, better. Like, I don't know. You're one of those people that like I always leave and I'm like, okay, this guy gets it. He understands the journey. He can explain it to people. He's vulnerable in, having the discussion, which I think is incredibly, I don't know, it's just a breath of fresh air, because there's so many people that are always like pounding their chest about like how awesome they are. And, I love to explore all the messy, because that's how we all learn, right? Yeah. That's how we all learn. And so I'm going to encourage everybody listening right now to go check out comarketing.com. We'll drop some links in the show notes. And the reason being, in my opinion, because I normally don't promote stuff, right? The reason being is because I know that you can make something good out of the sawdust in your business, right? Yeah. You can make something good out of it. You're not monetizing all these relationships that you spent a decade, 15 years, credibility, all your 5-star reviews, like all this stuff needs to come back into your business. This goodwill needs to come back in, and you just haven't had your brain thinking on it, because you're just thinking about chasing the thing you've always chased, right? So it's about, how do you look at your business from above, and start thinking about how to plug some of these holes, right? Because sometimes it's like, how do I generate more revenue, right, from what I already got?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm a big fan, Grant, and I'm excited for you.
I really, really appreciate it. I'm going to be a little more vulnerable. When we were getting ready for this, I was journaling, and I was like, oh yeah, I get to talk to Rob today. And I was like, talking to myself, I'm like, I just love that guy. So I really appreciate you too, man. Thanks, man. I really do. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and appreciate the appreciate the affirmation, and appreciate you rooting for me. It means a lot, and I'm excited for what we're doing. More so excited that, because real estate agents make the lion's share of the money from what we do. So I'm very excited to start pouring millions of dollars back into the real estate industry to help this industry and to help everybody that surrounds them. So, yeah, thank you.
Well, I'm going to put this out there as well, and I'm going to be talking more on the podcast about it. We are doing our first GridCon this year, GridCon 2026. I'm excited. June 1st and 2nd. You're more than welcome to come. I'm going to send you an invitation. Those listening, if you want to learn more about the journey, because we teach investors how to invest, right? We're teaching agents how to invest. We're teaching investors how to invest better. The journey is all the same, right? The journey is the same, right? They're typically, their books are a mess. Their recruiting's a mess. Their SOPs are a mess. Their leadership is a mess, right? So if you want to come learn how to play the game at a higher level, we've got GridCon 2026, June 1st and 2nd coming at you. And Grant, I'm going to send you an invitation. I'd love for you to be there if you can.
Absolutely.
Cool, man. Okay. Peace.
Thanks, brother.
Take care.